Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you're watching All Things Bike. And today we are speaking with Deneka Deletsky, Associate Event Manager at the Dempsey Challenge, and Nadeau, Cycling Ambassador for the Dempsey Challenge. Deneka, Rod, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, so I know we're in the home stretch of the Dempsey Challenge, so you're very, very busy, and thank you really for fitting this in. Please remind us of the mission of the Dempsey Center and what the role of the Dempsey Challenge is in supporting that mission.
Absolutely. The Dempsey Center's mission is to make life better for people who have been impacted by cancer, not just patients, but family and friends as well. As many of us know, when a diagnosis of cancer comes, it truly impacts everybody. So the Dempsey Center, we like to say we treat the person and not the disease. We offer complementary therapies, counseling, other support services to cancer patients, but not just patients, their families as well, at no cost. And the Dempsey Challenge is the premier and primary fundraiser for that, raising anywhere between $1.2 to $1.3 million annually.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it's an important mission, and it's incredible how every year thousands of people keep coming back, and I guess it's getting bigger, or it has a wider message nowadays. But in your assessment, why do people keep coming back, and why is it so popular?
I think it's just a really impactful weekend. It's full of positive energy. Going there, it's just not like going to any other event. You really walk away feeling like you are part of something bigger. And you are a part of something bigger. Supporting the Dempsey Challenge is supporting cancer patients and their families to provide the services that the center offers at no cost. And I think every participant who either volunteers or participates that whole weekend walks away feeling that energy, and they want to come back for more.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's described now as an experience rather than a challenge, and that's true. I mean, the weekend is an experience. Before we get to that, just remind us of the dates. So we get the date right up front. When is the Dempsey Challenge?
So the Dempsey Challenge is over 2 days, September 28th and 29th. We offer a 5K, 10K run walk on Saturday, and then it moves into our cycling portion on Sunday on the 29th.
Right, and registration, how, when, where?
Now.
Yeah. Sooner is better.
Sooner is better.
Sooner is better, but the great part about it is if you get a whim and just got word of it, you can register right up to the day of the event.
Right, day of, okay, that's important. And it's a fundraising event, so there's a registration and a fundraising goal that each person has to achieve. Elaborate on that and talk about individual opportunities and team opportunities.
Yeah, sure. So every participant who registers, whether you're registering for the run walk event on Saturday or the cycling portion on Sunday, has a minimum fundraising dollar amount of $150, which in this day and age with social media campaigns that you can do online is very, very, very achievable. But you can register as an individual, or if you have a group of friends, or a lot of our employers will make a team. You can register as a team and have a team goal. And a lot of our participants get super creative on how they raise that money. Everything from,
bottle exchange.
Thank you.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say it. Yeah,
bake sales, bottle exchanges. I actually just attended a 5K that one of our participants puts it on every year for his challenge. So people get really creative.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, at the risk of a conflict of interest, Frame and Wheel, which is a sponsor of this show, has the Frame and Wheel Bike Gear fundraising program, which is actually presented by Busy Town Bikes in Lewiston, and that's an arrangement where participants can have Frame and Wheel sell their old unused bicycle gear, bikes, helmets, accessories, clothing, and have the net proceeds of that go to the fundraising minimum goal. I mean, that's a service and an option that's available, and I guess it's creative too.
Yeah, you just sort of marketed one of the ways you can raise money, and that's called an independent fundraising event.
That's right.
And that's what a lot of our participants do.
That's great, because it does bring in people from all over the cycling community to get involved. And just remind us, what is Patrick Dempsey's role in all of this?
He's there all weekend. He supports all weekend. He starts, Friday night we have a sponsor reception for all of our sponsors that are involved. He's there saying his words of thanks, but he really kicks off the event on Saturday at opening ceremonies at 7 o'clock, bright and early, gets everybody all pumped up, ready for the day. And he's there, he cycles on Sunday. He does it every year with his family, so he'll be there. You'll see, I think Facebook feeds will be filled with Patrick selfies all weekend.
All right, yeah.
So, yeah, to say he's involved is an understatement. He's involved in every aspect.
And he's also, I mean, I believe it was his mother that inspired this entire event.
If you make the $150 fundraising amount, don't stop there. If you keep going, there's some really attractive incentives like jerseys, and the top fundraisers get to meet Patrick.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. There are incentives and there are awards, and one of them is the Signs of Hope and Healing. But then there are a whole range of other ones. Deneka, let's talk about that, and then Rod, I want to hear about some tips on how to fundraise, because I think you've done this before. But programs, what do we got?
Absolutely. You mentioned the Signs of Hope and Healing. That's a wonderful part of the event. If a participant raises at least $200, they can be part of that program. And what it is you make a sign in support of somebody with cancer, or even somebody who's passed from cancer. Participants will put pictures, words of encouragement on these posters. You drop them off at the park, and they're dispersed all throughout the routes on Saturday and Sunday. So as a participant, you're going through the different routes, being surrounded by all of this positive energy and these signs of hope and healing, and it really makes for an impactful part of the event. We also take those signs and line it around the course for the Survivors Walk that's also featured on Saturday, another very moving part of the event.
Right. So the threshold to achieve that is very reasonable.
It's very reasonable. That's right.
Well, I mean, if you're one of the big fundraisers and you get up to $10,000, $20,000, the rewards become totally different. But what are some tips, Rod, on how to...
I think the first and foremost is just ask. A lot of people shy away from asking, and it's really hard to say no to this cause. When you think about a fundraiser for cancer patients, their families, and caregivers, and we pretty much all know someone in our lives that's been impacted by cancer, and ourselves included. So just ask. And social media is pretty easy as well these days. That's how I do it usually.
Right. It's become even easier. Any preferred mediums? Does Facebook work better than Instagram, or what do you think?
I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm on Facebook, and that works pretty well for me.
Facebook is very popular.
But if you want to hit kids, I guess there's different demographics for Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat these days.
But fundamentally, just ask.
Just ask.
Go with that. Well,
neighbors, families, friends.
Well, if you ask and you manage to ask your entire network, and you end up raising $5,000 or $10,000, or maybe you're part of a team and everyone's asking, what's the reward and the incentive result from that?
I think one of the biggest ones is our VIP event that we host on Saturday evening. It's Champions for Hope. It's a VIP event where we celebrate all of our largest fundraisers, people who really have fundraised year-round. We have a couple that I can think of that literally go door to door collecting donations, $5, $2 at a time, and it's raised $10,000. It's amazing. The achievements that we see. And Patrick's there as well. There's a meet and greet. If you make those top numbers, you get a meet and greet with Patrick, which is always a treat.
Sure, yeah. Right, I see. So, I mean, that's there's an incentive element to it. What about the seasonality? Some riders might say it's September, it might be cold, it might rain. Tell us about the weather in the past. And
we've had some challenging weather. We've had some great weather. We've had some rides start out in really cold, rainy conditions, but the sun came out halfway through, and I think most everyone is just taken by the positive energy of the ride. No matter how challenging the weather is, People usually endure it, and at the end, we're always smiling in the feast at the end. I don't think we've talked about that.
No, we haven't.
We have lobster, some main craft beers.
Yeah.
So that's one of the great things about the challenge is we feed you well.
That's right, and that's the incentive and the reward. It's it might be raining, it might be cold, it might be sort of less than optimal cycling conditions, but at the end, you get this weekend experience and describe it. I mean, we've got a live band. You've got the Patriots on Sunday, and Patrick's running around, and there's craft beer and lobsters. Just give us a description of what the weekend holds.
Well, I like to say it starts out with a great run or walk, whatever you decide to do, and an awesome ride. And along the way, there's really good rest stops. Every 15, 20 miles, there's a well-stocked rest stop. And I think that's the key. It's like pacing yourself and eating well, drinking well, eat before you're hungry and drink before you're too thirsty, and have a really positive experience. I mean, it's when we're out on the road, you meet a lot of people with a common connection.
Yeah.
So we're all coming together for a weekend with a common connection. And I just find that to be invigorating and energizing. And then you get back, and as you get closer to town, you see the signs of
people cheering, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
cowbells.
cheering stations.
We have cheer stations out on the course. So if you're doing the 100-mile ride way down in Harpswell, you'll see a cheer station. So you might be tackling a challenging hill, but we'll have cheer stations at the hard challenging points to cheer you on, to help you up that hill.
Right. So that's you won't be alone, and it may seem like a long ride, but you'll have support. But at the event, there are a lot of local and national companies who are participating, either as sponsors or just they're involved. Who's going to be there?
Well, our presenting sponsor is Amgen, Amgen Oncology, and they are amazing. They've been supporting it since the beginning. We certainly couldn't put on the event that we do without them. So as the presenting sponsor, we just have to give a big shout out to Amgen, for sure. But we have a lot of local sponsors as well that not only support us through their sponsorship, but also by providing volunteers, by creating teams at their places of employment, getting participation up, that just really round out the whole experience for us as part of their sponsorship. Some of those local sponsors are Central Maine Medical Center, Spectrum Healthcare, Cigna, Concentra, TD Bank. So there's a number of them. Right, some familiar names along with national brands, including Specialized. They're involved yes, of course.
The bike scene. No, that's great. So it's let's talk a little bit more about the ride experience.
Can I interrupt just for a moment? Kind of an important thing, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Our sponsors are so generous; they're able to offset the cost of the event. So all the donations go right to the center, and that's, I think, fairly unique at times, because a lot of charity rides and events, it goes to pay for a lot of different things, including the event. But we have really awesome sponsors that donate very generously. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate.
No, that's great. I mean, that's that means it's very fortunate, and it means that they're very committed to the mission of the event, and I'm sure it makes. I mean, I know it makes for a successful event. But so how many people are we expecting this year? Is it 2,000, 3,000? I've never really been sure.
As of this morning, we had 2,600 participants, almost 800 cyclists, so we're getting up there.
You're getting up there. So
we're getting up there. There's room for more. There's room for more.
There always is, but still, when you set off on the road, Rod, with 800 riders, describe what that's like, because someone might think it's too crowded or unsafe on some level. But give us a sense.
Well, first of all, Patrick's there to send us off. So if you're a Patrick fan, be there. And he's on the loudspeaker. And we have a jumbotron so you can see him, so everyone can get a Patrick sighting. And just all these people lined up for the same cause. It's a really, really good, it's kind of a loud send-off, but that's a good thing to motivate you and get out there.
But everyone is got a helmet. Their bikes have been checked out. And isn't there's some safety guidelines that are announced. Give us
for some people,
list.
it's the first time they've ridden in a group. So there's definitely some safety to think about. You don't want to overlap your wheels with the person in front of you, because if they turn sharply, you're might have a little accident. But the thing I want to mention about helmets, a lot of people wear them, but they don't always remember to adjust them properly. Helmet only helps if it's clipped in and it's appropriately adjusted, because
Right.
if you take a fall and your helmet comes off before you hit the ground, that's not much help. Or if it slides, that's not good either. So a good quality helmet, cycling clothing, and be ready, watch the weather.
Yeah, right. And what are some other tips for preparing your bike or just preparing your legs?
Good question. I might have to defer to you, Fred, because you're a much more accomplished and fitter
that's-
cyclist than myself.
I want you to answer first. And then
All right.
Yeah, so talk about like tuning up the bike. What
The bike.
can we do there?
Well, have some good tires for sure, and check the air pressure. That's probably one of the more important things, because you don't want a flat. But we do have rest stops with mechanics if you do have a flat or you have a mechanical, and sag wagon support as well if you have a breakdown. But it's a good idea to take your bike to a professional mechanic to have a look over, make sure it's in good, it's shifting well and braking well.
Yep.
And then once you get out on the road, like I say, be careful of the people around you. No sudden stops, no sudden changes of directions, because when you're in a group, everyone needs to try to be steady,
Right.
so that we don't
And
have
it's-
any crashes.
And the road is open to traffic, so once it thins out, you have to stay to the right.
Yes,
And,
we follow the rules of the road.
Right.
All right, so we don't run stop signs. We stop and we look for traffic, but we have people at the intersections helping out with that as well,
Right.
and state troopers in the spots where are
traffic.
potentially traffic.
Yeah, and no, that's great. I mean, I know that you can get your bike inspected at Rainbow Bicycles in Lewiston and Busytown Bikes, and then if you're stopping through Portland, you can use any of the bike shops here, Gorham Bike and Ski or Cyclemania, because those guys, they all know what to look for on a bike that's about to go off on a long ride. Let's talk about volunteer opportunities. What is that? What's there?
Oh, there's so many volunteer opportunities. We actually have over 1,000 volunteer shifts throughout the weekend. It takes about 800 volunteers to put on this event.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. People, if they're interested in maybe thinking that volunteering would be a good thing for them, you can go right on our website, dempseycenter.org, look for the Dempsey Challenge tab and all things challenge related. There's a volunteer button, and you'll see listed all of the volunteer opportunities there are. But you can work in the food tent, you can work in the merchandise tent, registration tent, help with the recycling efforts around for the park, cheer stations all along for both the run walk on Saturday and for the event on Sunday, which actually is great because we do cover so much area on the cycling event.
Yeah.
And you can't get to Lewiston, Auburn, but let's say you're from Freeport and you want to be involved. Get involved in a cheer station.
Right.
Get out there with friends and family and cheer those cyclists on.
Right, and because the route actually goes south this year, and
Yeah.
you could join a cheer station in the Freeport area and
Absolutely.
and help people go from there. Well, how about some stories, Rod? I mean, you've done this right. I mean, when did you first get involved, and how long have you been involved as an ambassador?
I've been involved since we began. I think it was 2009, and I heard there's a bike ride that support the cancer community, and those two jived well with me. So I got on the committee, what's called the local organizing committee, and I've been on the committee ever since.
Good for you. And tell us the most sort of memorable story from the road. And there are quite a few. Take a moment to think of them.
Every year is unique, but I would say my first year, I connected with a cyclist on the road that recently had been diagnosed with liver cancer, and we rode for 70 miles together, and that was incredibly meaningful. And on that same ride, I might be confusing, it might have been the second year, but there was a gentleman riding where his father had been training for the 100-mile ride for a long time. He's an avid cyclist, but unfortunately he lost his fight with cancer just a few weeks before the event. So this guy had his father's ashes on his back, and he hadn't had time to train at all. He wasn't a cyclist, but he wanted to follow through with his dad's wish of the 100 miles. I've been hooked ever since.
Wow, well, that's great. Yeah, so there are a lot of very human, authentic experiences that are found in this event. Deneka, are you going to do the ride?
I won't be riding. I will be working that day, but I will be participating in the 5K this year.
Run,
yes.
Right. Well, give us a sense of just how much work goes into it from the staff side of things, from you and Tish and up there in Lewiston, the whole the executive offices and the staff and the admin. Just how hard are you working right now to get this thing going?
I think everybody at the center right now is in challenge mode for sure. This is actually my first year as the associate events manager. I've been involved in the challenges from a volunteer aspect prior to, but learning the ropes and realizing how many moving parts there are for this size event has been eye-opening, to say the least.
What's the hardest part? What is really the thing that keeps you awake at night?
Oh, and it does keep me awake. I was up early this morning. Didn't see many Z's last night. I think just making sure all of the pieces are all talking to each other and everybody's communicating and understand what's going on from the courses. For the ride, everything that's going to be going on in the venue for the park, and also our ancillary events that we host throughout the weekend, and preparing the community as well for the influx of awesome challenge participants that are going to come in.
Yeah, I mean, 2,000 new people just turning up with cars, and they're all.
That's right.
They're all. And so let's remind us of when registration is. We know what the dates are, but just say them again.
28th and 29th of September.
Okay, great. And then you can register the day of and pick up your packet and do all that. But if you've registered in advance, you pick up your packet on the Friday, right, beforehand.
Yeah, we're encouraging people to pick up early. It just makes it for an easier experience. The other thing we didn't mention is that we do have a free app that's available on Apple and Android platforms, the Dempsey Challenge app.
Great.
It is free. You can register right through there. You can also do your fundraising through there.
Oh, brilliant.
So download the app, make it easy on yourself.
Right. No, that sounds great. That's the digital revolution coming through. And where do you register? Dempsey Challenge online?
Yeah,
online?
DempseyCenter.org,
Okay.
and look for the challenge tab and all things challenge.
If you don't have the app. All right. Have I missed anything? This is we've only got a few more weeks before this event. Have I missed any?
We have some new routes that we developed last year. For the first 9 years, we basically went from Lewiston out towards Bridgeton. The 100-mile had 6,000 feet of climbing. It was beautiful, but we had some people say it was a little too much of a challenge. And so for the 10th year, last year, we changed the routes up and we headed south. So the 100 now goes down to Harpswell and Bailey Island and out to Land's End, which is breathtakingly beautiful if you haven't been there. And then we turn around and head back.
Yeah. So it's a change, but make sure you look at the route map. If you've done this event 5 or 6 times before, you just check the map so you go in the right direction. Well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for coming down and giving us the details and. Good luck, Deneka. You can do the run this year, and maybe you can do the ride next year. And Rod, are you signed up for the 100?
Always, yes.
All right, everybody. That was Deneka Deletsky, Associate Event Manager at the Dempsey Challenge, and Rod Nadeau, Cycling Ambassador for the Dempsey Challenge. You can learn more about the event on their website, on Facebook. That's all we've got time for right now. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you again soon. All Things Bike is brought to you by FitWorks, Rider First Bike Fitting, Rider Matched Bike Sales. Locations in Peabody, Massachusetts, Waitsville, Vermont, and Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. And Frame and Wheel, eBay selling services for cyclists, bike shops, bike companies, and cycling-related nonprofit organizations. Time, space, cash, pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future. Become Bike. Become AD Bike.